party people, what's going on? It's your man Fernando G with yet another amazing talent right here on what we call DJ to DJ, the podcast. Just a reminder that if you're enjoying these podcasts, please be sure to subscribe and click the bell so that you get notified to every time we have an amazing talent like today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome my brother from up north, Scotty Fox. What's up, bro? How are you, man?
What's up, man? Good. Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, man, thank you for entertaining us every morning, man. Because I got to tell you, man, when I discovered your 80s show on Twitch, man, I was like, this guy is on fire, man. So you've definitely been making my mornings a whole lot better.
Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying, man. It's just trying to have fun, get people's days started right. And I just love playing 80s. It's fun for me. So if it's fun for me, hopefully it's fun for everyone else.
Well, you're definitely doing it right, man, because you got a large following there, man, and you're doing a good thing. So what do you say we go down memory lane as we always do right here on DJ to DJ, and let's talk about when little Scotty Fox first discovered turntables and the art of DJing.
So pretty much like everyone my age, mid-40s, it started with Beat Street and also Grandmaster DST on the Grammys with Herbie Hancock. So when I saw that, I mean, we were all into breakdancing. Everybody was in the neighborhood, was into breaking. We'd watch Beat Street, watch breaking, the breakdancing scene and flash dance, all that.
Right.
And so that's when I got into it and I got excited by it, but I didn't really start DJing until 89.
Okay.
I was too young. I was 10 in 84, so I wasn't going to start that. But it was 89, and San Francisco had that big earthquake, right?
Yeah.
Which everyone remembers probably. The day after, we didn't have school, so my buddy had just got his turntables, a couple weeks before. So he's like, "Yo, we don't have school. Come over. I'll show you some stuff." Went to his house. He showed me a few things on the turntables. Boom. That was October of 89. I had my first 1200 in December of 89.
Nice.
My second in April of 90. And that's when I started and pretty much was hooked ever since, practicing every night, no matter what, in the headphones only, because I couldn't play music out loud.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's been a good 31 years now.
Wow. So let's talk about, because this podcast is geared to DJs that are just getting started, and basically we like talking about our trials and tribulations and everything that we went through back in the day. So what did it take for you to get that first 1200?
Oh, well, that's not a great story. It was a Christmas gift, basically, the first one.
There you go.
Yeah. But the second one I had to earn. So I had to do a lot of work around. I had to mow the lawns, do all that kind of stuff that you do in the 80s to make money, all the old stuff. And then I bought the second one myself. My grandparents were only going to, they're like, "Why do you need two record players? You have one already." Well, it's a whole thing. Trust me. So yeah, so I was very blessed in that respect.
Very cool.
To get the first one, pretty easily, but the second one took some work. But that during that time I only had one. It would be like connect a tape deck to the mixer, and then try to mix along with the tape that was playing, and then if you mess up, rewind the tape and then try again. And I was also buying records too. So
there you go. That's wild, yeah, because a lot of DJs don't really understand, how difficult it was for us back in the day. I mean, we had our parents, not that some parents aren't strict or anything like that, but like my dad, when I told him, "Hey, man, I want to do this," he's all like, "Oh, okay, cool, get a job." Like, I'm not going to get it for you. And that's exactly what I did. So,
yeah, I think my grandparents saw it as, because one of my best friends was already DJing, and he was also like a great student and got great grades. So I think my grandparents saw it as, I was raised by my grandparents, so I think they saw it as, oh, if he does this, he'll stay out of trouble, he'll get good grades, he'll do better in school if he has this to focus on as opposed to other things. Haha, joke's on them.
Well, it was different times back then, I think,
Yeah, totally.
So, what was the very first record you actually purchased?
Okay, so when I started getting into records and buying 12 inches, the first record I ever bought was RoboCop by the Sleazy Boys.
Oh yeah.
But I'd had some records I'd bought when I was a kid, like Culture Club and Mr. Roboto, stuff like that I bought
Mm-hmm.
early in the '80s. But yeah, when I first got into DJing and it was Sleazy Boys, RoboCop, and then like Cynthia, Change on Me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some of that stuff. And then of course NWA had the great 12 inches with all like the B-side stuff that you couldn't get on the album. So I
Yep.
bought everything they put out, Easy E and all that stuff too.
Yeah. That's cool. Who would you say were your biggest influence was when you first got started?
So up here, Cameron Paul was everything to everybody who's a DJ in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
period.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he was on the radio, and they had mix shows every Saturday night. So I would just sit home, and sometimes I'd be at my buddy's house, and we would just sit there and listen and try to like, how is he doing that? And you hear the dumb stories like, because he's mega mixing everything, but a lot of
Right.
it we found out later is pre-recorded and this and that. But I'm
Right.
like, people are like, oh no, he has 12 turntables in the booth, and he's just going back and forth, and we're like, oh my god, that's crazy. So Cameron Paul would be the top influence. Michael Erickson was another one, another DJ from up here, who not only um, was a great DJ, but also as I progressed into radio later, was a mentor for me personally, which was
Mhm.
I'm very blessed to have that. Another DJ from around here, Jazzy Jim, who is pretty much a local legend and one of my biggest influences of all time. And I mean, the guy was just amazing, top to bottom, still is. Uh, so, and then there was a lot of like local guys who were like friends of mine
Mhm.
who, even though they're friends and even we're in the same crew, you're still internally you're competing with them,
Right. Right.
and that always makes you better. And so guys like that, Prince K, my buddy Victor, who's out of DJing for 20 years now, but at the time was really good and drove me to be even better.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good stuff, man. Do you remember your first gig, the first one that you did in front of a live audience?
So I was in a crew called Rhythm Motion, and we had three guys who already could DJ. So the first couple gigs we did, I didn't get to DJ. I had to just come in, help set up and load, and basically pay my dues like that. We all
Right.
start coming, but it wasn't until I want to say March of '91 was the first time they let me like, okay, we're doing a house party, get your set ready, you can do that. And so I made a set, I practiced it. It was all hip hop stuff. It was like Gold Digger by EPMD and Big Daddy Kane and stuff like that. Back from Hell by Run DMC and
Run
Ice
DMC.
Cube and all that stuff. I mean, I still remember a lot of the set too. It was a great set, X Clan and stuff like that. And I did that in front of the party. And there's actually pictures that I post every now and then on my Instagram. I think it's on my Facebook. I know it's on my Instagram from that gig, the first time I ever DJ'd. Like
Wow.
it's a crazy like little I have pictures of that first gig, and you can see me, I'm looking down, I'm like, I'm not like I'm like very serious. I'm like, making sure everything's it's just um I was nervous as hell, but I did do a good job. And it's
There you go.
because they held me back, made sure I was ready to go before they unleashed me. Because
They unleash. That's good. That's yeah, and that's good because there's some DJs that I know of that actually gave up. They started, and
Mhm.
then their first gigs they didn't do too good. Um, and unfortunately they didn't have like a good support behind them. Like they had friends that would rag on them and stuff and talk smack, and so they just kind of gave up. And they were talented, they were good, but they just they had that one initial shock of, oh shoot, I suck, and I should not do this. But it's a matter of perseverance and and keep going. And that's good that your support group would actually said, you know what, now you're ready, let's do it. And that I believe gave you more confidence.
Oh, totally, totally. I owe those guys everything, and that's why I'm like, yeah. To this day, they're all still friends of mine. We're all still a
That's
crew
cool.
and hang out, and it's we don't see them as much anymore, but when we get together, it's just like old times. So I'm very thankful to the crew that I grew up with in
Yeah,
my area.
it's well. I saw your website and your story, and you had a little description there about the earthquake, and you had the images of the earthquake and stuff, and then
Yeah.
how you talk about the turntables being mismatched and a pyramid mixer and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. He
those are the
had.
growing pains, man. But that must have been surreal to go through that quake, and then the next day you're DJing. It's like you're
Yeah,
learning.
man. He had some generic. They were belt drives. They were like a JVC, and one was a Scott. Had the little knob in the front
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the pitch. Yeah, but you take what you can get. If you want to do
yeah.
something, nothing's going to stop you. So I wanted to learn to DJ. So he had those. I would go out to his house after school and practice and this and that. And then another friend of ours, he had a pair of 12s eventually, and we would go to his house and practice even when he wasn't there. His parents would just his parents knew us and they liked us, so they would just let us in. Like, oh, where's he at? Oh, he's at he's somewhere doing this and that. Well, can we practice? Yeah, go ahead. So
Wow, that's
yeah, we
cool.
we were very lucky. We were very lucky. We had
Yeah,
a lot of parents and stuff that believed in us, and they I guess they knew that, like I said, this would keep us out of trouble,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
did.
And that's good. That's good. Yeah, because there's some parents that feel that DJing is going to lead them to drugs and alcohol and things like that, and yeah, there's some people that may fall into that. But it does take you away. It does consume you, because when you get that first mix on beat, man, what a rush. You're like, and it's funny because I'm reliving my childhood right now through my boys because I'm teaching them how to beat mix.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
brother, I got to tell you, the look on my son's face when he nails a mix, he gets like so excited. He's on, yes, yes, he's like fired up. And that's the way I felt, back in the day.
Yeah, I can fully remember it. I can see it in my mind's eye, being at my friend's house and playing. I don't know what's on this turntable, but I'm playing uh, "Fun, Fun, Fun" by Rodney O on this side.
Okay, yeah,
And the
yeah.
first, what I used to do is just set the pitch and throw it in. Okay, that's not right. Adjust the pitch. The first time I realized I can push the record on beat and that will tell me where to go with the pitch, it was like surprise, like oh my god. And after that, and I can literally see it in my mind's eye, still doing that. Like oh my god, I can do this. Is how you do it. And ever since, that's like boom. Okay, that's it.
That's
And,
bomb.
and yeah, it's crazy. So that's amazing. You're teaching your kids. I love that so much.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
so.
It's. I'm telling you, man. It's a and I didn't want to push them, but I noticed that my eldest son had talent, musical talent,
Mm.
and I just asked him. I said, would you be wanting to learn to DJ? And at first he was kind of like, yeah, maybe, 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 maybe. And
Mm.
then he's all like, can I try it? And I'm all like, yeah, boom. My youngest, he was like, nah, I don't want to do it, And then when he saw his older brother doing it and learning it real quick, he comes up to me one day and he's like, Dad, I want to learn to DJ. And I was like, yes, let's do it. So
Yeah.
now they're both on board. And I give them, literally, I don't pressure them too much. I give them like 20 to 30 minutes practice session.
Mhm.
And I just kind of guide them. Like oldest one, he's got it down. Like he's mixing different genres, and
Right.
now I'm teaching him effects. And next is the timing, and then we're gonna launch him on my Twitch, so you'll be seeing him real soon. And the
That's
other
dope.
one's already got the beat matching. So let's get into your progression and stuff. So slowly but surely, you start evolving into a more powerful DJ. You got into radio for a little bit there also, right?
Yeah. So we had our crew, and I did a lot of stuff. I started doing some club stuff in like 93, 94 for some local promoters and stuff. I was kind of making a name for myself a little bit. I started working at a record store that another
Very
guy
good.
who's on Twitch, DJ Ajax, SF, he owned a record store. And so I started working there with him. And then, I started meeting a lot of the big name DJs who are already on the radio. So, of course, here's my demo tape, check it out.
Hmm.
And so they, by 96, they'd be like, yo, we're doing a Mickey Ficky weekend for Wild 94.9 or Wild 107 it was called then.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you do a guest spot? So I put together a mix, totally, 4-track mega mix,
Right, right.
everything, and turned it in, and it was good. It was well received, and then they were like, "Yo, and Jazzy Jim, like I said, my idol, was in charge of all the DJs for that station." So
Nice.
then the next time I did a mix, and then I played a bunch of stuff that wasn't really radio cool for the. It was like in the daytime my set was, but I was playing like Wu Tang and Fushnikins, which.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he goes, that wasn't really radio friendly. And I was like, nah, man, that was dope. Forget that was dope. And he was like, okay, bye. And so he fired me.
Wow.
But then he brought me back, and then I kind of like realized and got it. And so like I started doing radio regularly in early '97,
Nice.
and I'm still on radio to this
Nice.
day. I
Nice.
was I did Wild 90 for 9 from 97 to 2001. Then I was on KMEL, which is like the top urban station up here, from 2001 to 2010. And then did an old school hip hop station. I've done a bunch of stations ever since then. But yeah, radio has been kind of one of my main focuses for about 25 years.
Nice.
So and it's fun, and I learned a lot and met a lot of cool people, and it was a great time, and again, kept me out of trouble.
There you go. There you go. Now you mentioned 4-track. When was the first time that you saw somebody using a 4-track and came to realize the magic that you can create with this machine?
I'll tell you exactly. So a good friend of mine, I didn't know him yet, but I knew the name because he was a couple years older than us, and he'd gone to high school with a couple of other guys from my crew. His name was Chris the Rebel. He's a DJ from up here. And we were at a showcase. We had gone to go check out what all the other DJs crews were doing, and someone slid me his tape, and it was called "Keeping the Faith." And I went home, listened to that tape, and just rewound it, listened to it again, rewound it, listened to it again, about 8 or 9 times, and just wanted to throw all my stuff away. Just I'll never ever be able to do this well. There's no way. Like I would rewind, like how did he even do that? And so I finally, I met him, and I was like, dude, how? And he's like, oh, I had this the Tascam, and and I was like,
Yeah.
what? And so that's when he showed me he had a port of some, I think a port of 3 or port of 4, and then I bought a port of 1, which was garbage, but then I graduated to a 424, and ever since after that, I did a bunch of mixes on that, and then I got into computer editing and stuff using Saw in like 95, 96. So I
Wow.
was
So I
starting to do
remember that
mixes on
one. Yeah.
computer. Yeah. From about 95, 96, I started using the computer to make mixes and stuff. So,
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, technology today helps us DJs out so much. I mean, it's not even funny, how much easier it is. I mean, from back then, we literally, it was tape. It was reel to reel. For the people that don't know what the Tascam was like, it was this
yeah.
two big reels that you had to do, and it had little, 4 levels that you would monitor. And if you didn't do it right, man, it ended up sounding like crap. You
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah. Just the worst. But, you learn tricks around it, and you learn how to handle it. And I spent hours in the basement on my little 4-track and just doing things and trying to figure stuff out and putting the tape in backwards so I could make the beat go backwards and
Yep, yep.
stuff like that. Just weird stuff, but it was great, and it gave me a much more creative outlet to do stuff.
Hmm.
And I mean, and it was cool because even once we got like into the CDJ realm, I was already doing like custom edits and remixes and stuff, and then be able to make it that morning and take it to the radio and play it that afternoon right off the
Nice.
CD. So stuff like that was a lot of fun. So and I think that's a good DJs should always try to explore stuff like that, like
Right.
not just playing music, but trying to like do your own edits and remixes and stuff, and not just even if you have to do just 2 live blends and record it and be able to play it, or it's just something that gives you a creative outlet to do more and make yourself stand out a little bit more.
Exactly. That's important. That's very important. The evolution of your radio career, people obviously here in Southern California know the Woody Show very well, and you managed to hook a little slot with them there. Tell us about that, how that came about.
So there's a guy on the Woody Show named Menace. He's one of the hosts of the show.
Hmm.
Well, Menace was one of our interns back when I was at Wild 90 for 9 in the late 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, Menace was an intern and was always cool. He was, go out in the vans and do this and that. And we always were cool with him. He was always a nice guy. We never, even though we were like the DJs and stuff, we were never rude to the interns. We were always cool with them. They always hung out.
Right.
And I'd always stayed in touch with Menace throughout the years. And when Woody Show was up here, we would stay in touch. And then when they went down there, they wanted a DJ that could do like all sorts of different formats and genres. And Menace was like, yo, Scotty can do it all. So they gave me a call. They're like, yo, let's just try this out. It was like late 2015.
Hmm.
Let's just for a couple weeks, let's just see what happens. And 5 years later, here we are still doing it. So and having an amazing, great time doing it. It's so much fun.
And it's funny because now you and I have a connection beyond Twitch and this interview, because I do marketing promotions for Heftel Broadcasting in Barstow in Las Vegas,
Oh yeah,
and we just launched the Woody Show on the Drive.
that's
So
crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, that's that right on, man. Yeah, dude, I can't wait till we get out of this pandemic nonsense so we can actually go to some events and stuff
tell
like
me
that.
about it. Tell me about it. I do the mixes for the other station, The Vibe.
Oh,
Yeah, so the odds of you and I working together in person real soon is more than likely, man.
right on, man. I can't wait, man. I can't
It's
wait to
gonna
see.
be a blast. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So, out of that Woody Show, I mean, you've nailed some pretty big events and stuff, and I've seen you at some. What would you say was the biggest audience that you've spun for thus far?
Um, Probably it could be the alter ego shows at the Forum, for the Woody Show or for Alt 98.7. But I also DJ'd at 10 of our summer jams up here
Mm,
for KBL and at the Shoreline, and those are pretty big too. Those are about, I would say, 18,000 as
wow, that's
well.
huge.
So it's yeah, they're around the same size. So events like that,
Hmm.
I would say are, and um it's a little daunting at first, but I kind of learned to just phase out the crowd and just kind of like focus on one or two people instead of like looking at the sea of humanity that's in front of you, because that can throw you off. But if
Oh
you're
yeah,
just like kind of focusing like, okay, I can hit these people right here or hit these people, then
it
it
is
makes it a little easier.
pretty intense. Like when you're in front of a big audience. Like I remember the first time that I was in front of a big audience, I was doing this. My
Yeah,
head down the whole time, and I'm
yeah,
just focusing down, and it was like, and then just kind of glanced every now and then. But after a little while, you get used to it and stuff, and you start, developing your personality and stuff. But
yeah.
it is crazy, man.
You have to you kind of have to be personable, and I'm not with all the rah rah heart thing and all that, but I'll be happy and smile and try to be energetic up there because people like to see that in
Yeah,
person, and it's fun. I think you have a better time when you do it, and so I
yeah,
had to come out of my shell, so to speak, when I'm
definitely.
up there. Yeah.
So, you have been the way I discovered you was literally through Twitch.
Mhm.
Now with the whole pandemic, and we all started on Facebook and Instagram, and it's funny because I saw the post of you when you said, "Okay, it's official. Instagram has blocked me out, and I can't mix the live no more." And then you were like, "Okay, moving on."
Yeah, they literally banned me for a couple days, and I mean Instagram was a cool platform for it, because I have like 15,000 Instagram followers.
Hmm.
But if they're gonna shut off your music every 10 minutes, then what's the point? And
Exactly.
thing is, they Instagram kind of screwed themselves by giving certain DJs the nod and the platform to go ahead and do it, and then every other DJ was like, "Oh, well, we're allowed to do this," and then
Yeah.
they're blocking us, but they're letting these other guys just do whatever. And no disrespect to D Nice and those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
they took it and ran with it, and it's dope.
Yeah.
But it also it kind of it was kind of a slap in the face to a lot of us other guys who may not be, as known as D Nice.
Right.
But Twitch embraced us, and hey, we're happy to be there, man. It took me a while though, because at first, harkening back to when you said the DJs who started off and then wanted to quit right off the bat. That's how I felt when I went to Twitch, because in my mind, I'm a pretty well-known DJ around here,
Mm-hmm.
and I do a lot of stuff, but then I'm DJing on Twitch for 12 people, and it's like, this is whack, man. No, I don't want to do this. This is a
It
waste
does
of my
bring
time.
your spirits down, man.
Yeah, for real. It was an ego killer. I
Yeah.
will fully admit that. It was an ego killer, and it hurt. And I actually took a month off. I took like August and part of September off. I was like, I'm not going to do this
So
anymore.
let's
This is
backtrack just a tad.
yeah,
When was it that you actually started twitching?
May. May of
May of last year?
2020. Yeah, it was May of 2020, because I'd done Instagram, and it was blocking off, and then Shortcut had already been doing Twitch kind of right off the bat. So
Mm-hmm.
and Shortcut's a longtime friend of mine. We grew up together. So he told me, "Yo, dude, Twitch is where it's at." And so he kind of showed me how to get started in that. So I got all the stuff and I did it. And my first overlay was not even it was just absolute terrible nonsense. Something I'd made on not even Photoshop. It was on your regular preview filter on your Mac, whatever. It was something
That's
terrible,
funny.
but yeah. But so I was May, but I started to get some following and some traction, but it wasn't going where I wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could never break 40 or 50 people, and I was just kind of bummed out by that, because I was spoiled because of Instagram. I've been having
Right. Right.
hundreds, and so I kind of lost interest. And I was kind of down on myself, so I stopped in August, and then through September, and then a friend of mine who had been streaming, he was like, "Yo, just come to my house. I have all this stuff set up. I have it all dialed in. It's dope. Just do a set at my house, and just see how you feel." And I did it, and I didn't have to worry about anything except DJing. I didn't have to worry about modding or talking or doing all this and that. And then I realized oh, okay, well, now I can do it. If I just have to DJ and play good music and not have to worry about all the other stuff. Okay. And then I kept doing that with him. And then eventually I figured out some stuff and did it at home, got a couple mods that helped on. And then it was boom. So I started doing really well, but I wasn't keeping a regular schedule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And which was kind of hurting me, because you got to have a regular schedule. I've noticed with Twitch.
Yes.
People have to be able to find you. They're not going to go by notifications, this and that, whatever. So in November, I woke up one morning and I was like, I want to watch some music. I want to listen to someone on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on in the morning. No one to watch. There was nobody. I couldn't find anybody cool to watch. And I was like, bingo. Next day, did an 80s set in the morning, popped off. And I was like, okay, here we go. Let's do it. And I didn't want to get pigeonholed into only playing 80s, but goddamn, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So I started doing that in November. And I mean, by December, I was getting 300 people in the morning.
Yep.
And every morning. And then, of course, as you start doing that, other DJs start seeing that and they start jumping on the morning. So my numbers are leveling off about 200 per show, but still, that's pretty good for going on every day.
Yeah.
And competing. And there's other, big name Twitch DJs competing with me in the morning, and I think I've achieved something pretty positive. I think I feel good, and I'm not here to win or compete or blow anybody up. I want to have fun. I want to play music that I like to play.
Yeah.
And just have fun with it, and challenge myself to play the same genre every day for 2 hours a day without getting stale or repeating the same songs over and
Exactly.
over and
Hmm.
always trying to find new songs. And it helps that I'm playing the videos too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the videos add a nice element to it, and the whole MTV thing, and
Yeah.
that's kind of fun. So
And it's funny because I mean I'm an '80s kid, you know. I mean '80s was my music, as you can see. My all-time favorite band, Depeche Mode, and you know I've been wanting to do something. I also love electronic house, trance, and all that stuff. So I team up with some friends of mine that we grew up with, Highland Park DJs, and we started doing some stuff there. And I launched my Twitch literally probably like about maybe 8 months ago, but I really didn't focus on it. I wasn't doing anything with it. And I had people tell me, switch over to Twitch, switch over to Twitch. And the same thing. I jumped on. I had 4 people, 5 people, and I was like, dang, you know, and I was just like, yeah, you know, forget it. And then I kept going back and I started seeing DJs and I discovered you. And
Mhm.
before I reached out to you, I would pop in and then there it was, Scotty Fox, 80s in the 8 a.m. And I was like, he's on again? And I was thinking, wow. And then boom. And then I think one of my first comments to you was like, bro, you're very consistent. You're all like, every day. You
Yeah.
responded. You're all like, every morning, 8 a.m. And I was all like, wow. So then I started checking you out and you weren't lying. Boom, 8 a.m. There you were. And the music, I mean, it's 80s and everybody's heard the 80s, but you were just spinning it in a fun way. It wasn't like you were just spinning new wave and that was it. You know, I mean, you were giving a good variety of the top 40, the pop, the new wave, you know, just a little bit of everything. And then what I loved most about you were your edits. And I think that was one of the first things that I told you. It's like, man, your edits are sick, man. Yeah, I love the way you're able to transition in and out. And
Mhm.
your personality, just chatting it up with people. You know, you're not like, hey, what's going on? You know, you're just like, hey,
Yeah.
man, how are you? Good morning. Thanks for being here. Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, this is cool. So when I'm getting my day started, you know, I'm listening to you and I'm, you know, getting my computer up and running and everything until it's time to grind. And then I'm all like, all right, bro, I'm out, you know. And then you were very kind enough to send me a few of your edits,
Oh,
which I debuted last week on my Wednesday
oh, thanks.
80s at noon. And very cool, very well received and stuff. I'm nowhere near where you are at. I'm now just getting started, but it's like you say, for DJs that are starting off right now on Twitch, consistency is the important thing, and making sure that you're on not just like right now I'm on literally one day a week, but I'm planning on growing that. It's
Yeah.
important to be very consistent and more times, and I'm sure that you can attest to that.
You gotta be you gotta be consistent. You gotta be punctual. If you say you're gonna start at 8, don't start at 8:10,
Mhm.
because some other DJ's starting at 8 and people are going to their stream and they're not gonna leave to go to yours. So, you know, if you if you're gonna start at 8, start at 7:55. That's my only thing. I always start early, and I'll try to make sure I'm on before the top of the hour. That's just my thing. And yeah, be consistent. People have to know where to find you. And stick. If you're gonna do 2 days a week, do those 2 days. Now, it doesn't don't try to do the same thing every time. Maybe you can alter your themes or whatever you want to do,
Right.
but just make sure your time is consistent. And don't. I used to worry about, like, oh man, if I'm going to be on in the evening, well, Shortcut's on. He's my friend, and I don't want to go up against him. And
Yeah.
Scratch Bastard is on, and these guys, and then you can't realize, like, you'll find your own lane. Don't worry about what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have a friend, you don't want to, like I'm not. If you're on doing 80s at a certain time, I'm not going to go up against you because you're the homie. But if I happen to be on at that time, I'll do something else, a different genre, because there's
Right.
lanes for everybody. There's enough room. Twitch has a lot of people on it,
Right.
and you can find lanes that you can do. So just be consistent, be punctual, be professional, but have fun. I
Yeah.
mean, when I'm saying be professional, it doesn't mean like be stuffy and like you're
Right.
doing a wedding or something. Just you know, uh, don't be out of control. I saw a DJ throw up on his mixer the other day. Yeah, live stream.
Oh
I'll tell
my
you
god.
about it later, but I don't want to name names. But it was
Well,
really like,
I've seen some DJs partying up like crazy, you know, with the tequila and the drinking and stuff, and then getting a little wild and stuff. But I
yeah.
haven't seen anybody hurl.
Yeah, that was a new one for me. I was like, oh man, and this dude's a pretty big dude too. So, um, yeah, I mean, drinking is fine. That's fun. You know, I took a bunch of shots last night with people because it was a party, it was a celebration.
There you go.
But we just don't don't make yourself look bad. Be in
Right.
control, and then but of course, have fun because that's the basis of this whole thing. Without fun, there's no point to DJing. If you're just DJing and it's not fun, then do something else. Just have
Exactly.
fun.
Exactly. So what other nights are you on? Because you do a couple of other
So
mixes as well.
I do 8 a.m. every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Monday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do Mighty Mighty Mondays, which is 90s rock, alternative, and pop.
Hmm.
I do that. And then I will float on Tuesdays or Thursdays with themed sets. Now, I know I just gave a whole speech about being consistent, and then I'm like, oh, well, I'll do Tuesday or Thursday.
Right.
But I do one or the other, and it
Hmm.
depends. So usually I'll post it on my Instagram. Sometimes it's like if I'm doing Mondays now, I don't want to go right on Tuesdays now, so I'll
Right.
probably just move it to Thursdays. I'm kind of trying to judge right now
Right.
because I just started the Mondays thing, and then occasionally I'll do some raid train stuff on Saturdays, but I try to avoid the weekends because I kind of want if I'm on every day, I don't want to burn out.
Hmm.
And so yeah, mostly Mondays and then Thursdays and then every day during the day. And so occasionally if I get the bug, I'll do a pop up. And those I don't expect, a big numbers of people, but people will find me
Yeah.
occasionally. So
Yeah.
it's fun,
It was interesting because Twitch is a different animal than Instagram and YouTube, and you have to slowly build that following. Myself, because of the things that I do here at home, I got my kids, I got my wife. It's kind of difficult for me, so I have to find that time of day that works, that's fine for everybody, where I'm not interrupting school, I'm not interrupting my wife's work and things like that. And I figured, I said, what I'll do is I'll do a surprise pop-up mix. And so I'll
Mhm.
just promote that it can happen at any time. And, it could be late night, early morning, and things like that. And I started doing that, but people weren't really finding me, And once I started doing the Wednesday, I started seeing the numbers go up. I'm like, again, I'm nowhere where I want it to be yet, but consistency, I believe, will pay off.
Yeah, people rely on like the sending out emails and the notifications, and we all know we do the same thing. All those notifications that I get go into a filtered
Yep.
folder, and I don't even check them. I mean,
Yep.
that's so most people are doing that. They're either filtering out all the because if you follow 10 DJs on Twitch or
Yep.
100 DJs, you're getting 100 emails a week, and that's
Yeah.
people are filtering those out. So I try to keep consistent, at least with my morning stuff, and then the Mondays now is starting to take off. I gotta lock in the Tuesday or Thursday thing.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. I'm second guessing myself basically,
Right.
but I think Thursdays will work for me. And then I was dabbling with Sundays, but a friend of mine, he was doing Sundays. He stepped away for a bit, so I took over, and now he's coming back because he had some family issues. So
Mm,
I'm gonna let him do the Sundays thing, and I'll
that's
just
cool.
yeah.
That's good. So obviously, COVID and the lockdown helped us spark our creativity, and with Twitch and everything.
Mhm.
Are you running OBS or Streamlabs?
Streamlabs OBS, yeah.
Streamlabs
Stream-
OBS. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I had
And
OBS originally, and then it was. I mean, it was cool, and there was certain stuff you could do. But then once I got Streamlabs OBS, I was like, oh, okay, this is way better. A lot more stuff you can
it,
do.
it seems to have a lot more elements built in within,
Right.
whereas with OBS you have to go to outside OBS Studio, you have to go to outside, to get it all to work, which is the challenge that I'm having right now because I run OBS Studio.
Oh.
I find it easy to use, and I'm usually a creature that will gravitate towards that if I can get the look and feel and everything that I want in the easiest way possible.
Mhm.
Jump on it, and then I stick to that for a good while. My first recording software was Cakewalk Home Studio, and I
Yeah.
kid you not, I used that for years. And everybody evolved; they went into Cubase and putting Cubase with Reason. Then they went into Pro Tools and everything, and I was still running Cakewalk. I was like, "No, man, I'm cool with this," and it was like not realizing what all the magic I could create with the other stuff.
Man, I ran Saw from 95 up until about, I want to say, 2015.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a little worse than me, bro.
Right, right. I literally, I didn't go anywhere else. I did, uh, yeah, Saw. I started with that, ran it to, and then went straight to Ableton. But like, yeah, I ran it for way longer than I needed to. But and I did, all those. I used to do a lot of remix records
Hmm.
back in the late '90s, 2000s. I did a whole series of remix records, and I did all those on Saw, and they weren't really sequenced, but I would make sure they were on beat at least.
Right, right.
And all the edits and stuff were on beat. But man, he just he said, hey, I'd already know how to use it, so I'm just gonna figure out how to build on top of what I already know, as opposed to taking the correct route and learning new stuff. But
Right, right.
that was my downfall. Not a downfall, but like that was my bad. I should have
Yeah, yeah,
learned a lot earlier.
yeah. And that's the thing. That the thing, especially, it's kind of like, I gotta put it, it's kind of like being a mechanic, people, once you learn mechanics, I mean, you learn how to do a tune up, you know how to do the brake, and switch things out. Cars keep evolving,
Yep.
and so you got to stay on top of your game. And
Yep.
it's the same thing with DJing. The DJ equipment and everything keeps evolving, and you
Yep.
have to stay on top of your game. You have to,
Oh yeah.
move with the times. And I was, like I said, I was just a creature of habit, and I was very comfortable and complacent in that, you know, hey, I'm getting the sound that I want, and I'm cool with this. You know what I mean? Not
Mhm.
realizing that I could take that to the next level. And it's funny because in radio, it's the same thing. You
Yep.
need to evolve. There's radio morning DJs that will last, for many, many, many years. But then some of them get complacent and they're just like, well, what we're doing is working. What we're doing is working. And then there's another little guy coming in, nipping at their heels, doing
Yep.
something different. And then it's all over, you know?
Yep. LA knows.
Oh,
They
yeah.
know.
Heck yeah. The radio industry is something else, man. It's not what it used to be many years. I mean, I first got into radio in 1989, and my first gig was at Power 106. And
Oh, okay.
man, was that a blast. That was so much fun. And I stayed in radio literally for almost 30 years, man. And still somehow after I said I'm never going to do radio again, I get dragged back in some way or form, but at least I'm not there on every single day, which is kind of a relief for me.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's I'd stopped radio a couple years, like 2 years ago, except for the Woody Show. I was just doing that, and then of
Mhm.
course, then like within the last month or two, someone hit me up like, "Well, we're going to be doing this. Can you do some mixes for Vita 101 in Sacramento, and then this other station in Portland, and then KUBE in Seattle?" So I'm like, okay, I guess why not? I got so that's yeah. So I started doing mixes for V101 and SAC like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just started that again, and then I'm going to be doing some stuff for Portland and then for KUBE in Seattle eventually too. So
Very good.
yeah, just like I said,
Congratulations.
it's radio. Just when we think we're out, they keep
They
pulling you back
pulling us
in.
back in. Yep. That's funny. So now here we are at the present, and we're hoping that now COVID is slowly starting to subside. California is starting to open up. However, we're still not able to do, weddings and things of that nature. But I feel that slowly but surely things are going to start happening for us. But my question for you is this: how do you see the streaming taking place in the future of DJing and events and moving forward?
So I look at it like obviously people are going to want to go back to clubs and live events, and that's
Hmm.
fine. But also, I look at the way I positioned myself, and I'm not playing for people who are in the clubs anyway. So with the 80s and all the stuff I'm playing for mostly the 30 and up crowd, and they're
Hmm.
not in the clubs anyway. So I think they like this and they will stay with the streaming. And I think this is going to become a standard and a norm. Now, it may tail off a little bit
Hmm. Hmm.
when people start going outside, but I don't see why it has to. I mean, people like music. People love to nostalgia, especially. And
Yeah.
they love to feel like they're still young, hearing the music from their youth. So they'll they'll listen to this stuff and keep me on in the background or in the mornings or whatever. So it's I mean, there's always been a place for mixes. I mean,
Yeah.
Mixcloud is great. When we had Mixcrate before, we blew up real fast when we did that. And so people love mixes. So I think streaming will stay. Now, obviously, you're not going to be streaming at a wedding or whatever,
Right.
this and that. But I think a lot of people will stay with the streaming, and you just got to see the DJs who are really in it to win it. Are they going to stay with it, or are they just going to use it for now and then? Never mind. I'm going to go back and do clubs every week, which is fine.
Right.
People have their things. Now, me, um, over the last 5 years, I was doing way too much DJing. I'll be honest. I did in 2019. I did 100 gigs, and
Wow.
on top of having a full time job and everything too. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So that was way too much. And 2020 was already starting off. I did 25 gigs in the first 2 months of
Wow.
2020 before quarantine hit, and it was like two clubs a week and then a mobile on the weekend, and it was just getting too much. And so when quarantine hit, I was actually more like, this is a nice, quick little break,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be okay. And then a year later, we're still on this quick little break, but I don't see myself ever going back to the same level of DJing that I was before, going outside like that much. I'll do certain clubs that I like doing. Like there's a club in the San Francisco called Bruno's, which I do religiously for like 7 or 8 years now, once a
Nice.
month. Love it. Easy vibe, chill, great, real Frisco vibe. And a few things. I have a bunch of weddings that I have to clear through that were moved from last year to this year. Later this summer, hopefully we'll be able to get those done. But I don't see myself going back and doing those kind of events as much anymore. I'll be a
Interesting.
lot more um, careful and picky on what I choose to do. I mean, the money was great before, but now I've kind of made up for that with the streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So the income from the streaming is actually matching or surpassing what I was making from those events right now for me. So I have to
Excellent.
see how that pans out.
Right.
But I, as I get older, I just can't physically do it at that level anymore. Like I tore a ligament
Oof.
in my arm,
Yeah.
and I spent the first couple months of 2020 just in complete pain and
Wow.
still trying to DJ and carry gear, and it just
Yeah.
was so. I think you'll see a lot of DJs go back to the clubs, and that's great. And I think this will give a lot of opportunity to younger guys to get us kind of us old guys out of the way, which is fine. I'm happy to move aside and let these young kids do their thing, and I'll stay home and DJ from my little room downstairs
There
and
you
be
go.
perfectly happy doing it.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. There's a reason why I'm training my boys to take over the family biz, man. Because you're right. I mean, as we get older, I mean, we're still suffering from the aches and pains that we had to deal with. I mean, because back in the day, I mean, we were hauling these massive speakers, amp racks. I mean, easily 100-pound stuff, and sometimes no elevators, having to haul them upstairs
Oh,
and stuff. I mean, my knee and my back are thrashed from doing that. And
okay.
so anything that I can find that is light and compact to transport,
Hmm?
I'm all for it. So when people tell me, "Are you ever gonna go to 1200s again?" Nope. You know what I mean? It's like
Hell no.
the smaller the controller I can get that's gonna let me mix
Yeah.
on beat, the better.
Yeah, people ask me the same thing. Like, how come you don't bring like your turntables to gigs? I was like, have you carried those? Do you know how heavy 1200s are? You're
Yeah,
gonna put two of those in a coffin? That's like 60 pounds.
yeah,
No, no way.
exactly. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, listen, Scotty, we've come to the end of this podcast, brother. I want to thank you so much. Seriously, man. I mean, just a few months ago, I became aware of who you were, and here we are today chatting it up. And I want to thank you again. Thank you for sharing your edits with me. And I'm going to send you a few of mine also so you can check them out. I would love to get your feedback on them.
Of course.
And just keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're doing an amazing job. You're really entertaining people and playing great stuff. And, congratulations on all your success that you're having. And I hope that, soon, we can work together and collaborate on these radio stations that are now somehow twining us together, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you for having me, man. It's great to meet you and spend time with you like this. And yeah, let's work together in the future, man. I can't wait, man. And anything you need from me, you know where to find me, bro.
You got it,
I got
man.
your back.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so much. And of course, you that's watching, if you liked this podcast, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe, click the bell so that you get notified the next time that I have another amazing talent. And of course, all of Scotty's links are going to be in the description, so make sure you check him out. Follow him on Twitch. You're not going to regret it. Follow him on his IG and the FB and all that kind of good stuff, man. Scotty, brother, God bless. Stay safe, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.